Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. So typically on my channel I show you guys knives kind of in the high-end production spectrum, knives such as this Grant & Gavin Hawk mud knife that's made by Millet in Utah. Every so often I'll show you guys some custom builds like this nice piece on loan from Larevo Knives. And this is kind of the spectrum where most of my videos fall. Now in this video, we're actually going to go to the other end of the spectrum, which is just some straight budget knives. And to be honest, most people who probably watch YouTube and then buy knives, they're probably in this spectrum. So we're going to take a look at a new line of knives from Kizer Cutlery, and it's called the Tangram series. So Kizer Cutlery, they've been around for a few years, kind of following the footsteps of Riot and some of the other production knives out of China, but they're certainly well known for their collaborations with custom makers, typically titanium and S35VN as far as the materials. I think this one is called the Bladesmith series. Well, deciding that they wanted to be able to make more knives and make more affordable knives, they came out with the Vanguard series, which again is done with custom makers as far as the designs go. But it uses G10, VG10 blade steel, bearings, still has nice pocket clips, that sort of thing. Pretty good build quality overall. But again, we're going from like $200 on these to kind of 100 or sub 100 on the Vanguard series. Well, apparently Kizer decided that they wanted to make more knives and they want to make more affordable knives. And so they have now come out with the new Tangram series. And Kizer did send these to me to check out. So again, it's cool to do some budget stuff, maybe knives that you guys can just go out there and pick up, because of the price range without too much worry or concern. So 4 different models. They have, I don't know, probably 8 different models so far in the Tangram series. Most of these, I think, are just done by in-house designers with Kizer. And some of the changes are going to be still, G10 material, but they're using Japanese Akuto steel. It'll focus. Japanese Akuto steel instead of VG10, and then they run on phosphor bronze washers instead of bearings, and a few other interesting things. Again, still pretty good fit and finish. Some of them still have really nice deep carry pocket clips, but we're going to kind of take a look through these. I'm going to share with you guys my at least impressions of these 4. Now, I'm not going to do any cut tests with the Japanese Akuto steel. There's another channel, Stasa23 on YouTube. He did a cut test, so if you want to go watch him, basically abuse his hands cutting through a bunch of rope, you're welcome to do that to get a feel for how it performs. But Japanese Akuto is pretty much 440C or 154CM with a little tiny bit more vanadium. So, I mean, the performance is going to be in that range, and most of these are coming in with actually fairly thin blade stock. So, it's a budget entry. I'm not going to jump into the steel beyond that. So let's talk about the different models that we have here. So first is the Santa Fe. Then we have the Orion. This one is the Amarillo. And then the last one here, this is the Vector with a button lockup. This one is definitely my favorite, but we'll talk about it. So some of the different materials, combinations. Some of them have different pocket clips, but again, fairly thin blade stock on all of these. The fit and finish overall is actually fairly good. Obviously, this Japanese Akuto steel is going to require a little bit more stropping and maintenance than like S35. So let's take a look at the locks, or most of these are liner locks. So let's take a look at the non-show side, the lock side. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. So a couple different variations. Still the deep carry pocket clip. It's actually, is it the same one? Yeah, it's the same one that's found on like this Vanguard series here. These 2 are slightly different. They all work fairly well, although I do prefer these deep carry clips to these 2 clips here. Easier in and out of the pocket, a little bit more gap for jeans, but anyways, some of the things that I really like about these is that the action is actually on par with their bearing models. So just super duper smooth. I mean, some of these feel like you know, a knife that has been in your pocket for a couple of years, like it's already broken in. So for instance, this Orion here, it's on phosphor bronze washers, no bearings at all. There's the action. So, you know, compare it with this bearing model. Actually, it's more comfortable to flip this one. This one has a bunch of jimping behind the flipper, which is kind of the cardinal sin of flippers. So not very comfortable. But anyways, I mean, it's fairly close to their bearing models. That's how well they've done the, you know, the washers on these things. So pretty impressive stuff. All right. So some of the models, let's talk about the specs, I guess, real quick. I mean, you know, again, if you're looking for a budget knife and you're looking in the sub $50 range, these honestly are a pretty good option. You know, if you're not looking at these, you're probably looking at some other, again, it's going to be made in China. It's probably going to have 8CR13 MOV, and arguably the, you know, Japanese Akuto is a better steel than the 8CR13 MOV. But again, I'm not doing cutting tests, so, you know, don't take my word for it. You can do your own research. But yeah, really, really smooth on the washers. Decent steel for the price range. You still get G10. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good things going on here. So this one, the Santa Fe. On this one, the blade length is, let's see here, just about 3 inches it looks like, and then the handle total length is about 7.56. So the Orion right here, the blade length is 3.35 inches. This little Amarillo here, this is a blade length of 2.76, and for me this is a little 3-finger knife. So, and, you know, that deep carry clip, it actually gives a little meat to this thing, so I find that rather helpful. But, you know, it's a nice little piece. This one's a flipper too. Action's actually quite good. Blade is short, and again, pretty thin blade stock here, so you're not going to get a crazy action. Now, the Vector here is by far my favorite. This thing actually feels like a little Rockstead. If Rockstead had like a budget version where they weren't really sacrificing in quality and they put a much cheaper steel on it, it's just as smooth as the Rocksteads I've handled, and it has probably the best button lock I've ever experienced. And, you know, again, so really high praise for the sub $50 knife. Super smooth, great action. The button lock is just really crisp, really easy to use. Lockup is nice and tight. I mean, anyways, it's really nice. I'm really impressed with this knife. I would love to see them do the same knife in S35VN, or, you know, preferably for me, a slightly larger version, so I can get, you know, full 4-finger on this would be wonderful. Really like this model. It's just so well dialed, especially for the price. It's quite crazy, to be honest. So the specs on this one here, blade length is about 2.89 inches, overall 6.79. So let me grab calipers here. Let's take a look at the blade stock on some of these. You know, again guys, this is kind of a high level look. Just again, a few different options for some budget knives. If you're looking to get something that 0.1 blade stock inches, let's go behind the edge, 0.21, so yeah, so I mean, this one's ground as thin or slightly thinner than like a Para 2. That blade stock's really thin. I don't have my Para 2 next to me, but yeah, it's like 0.1. By way of example, let's take a look at the Guru here, and this is obviously a thicker blade stock. 0.14. Thickness behind the edge is 0.3. So again, thicker than a Para 2. So there's a size comparison between the blade stock thickness. The Orion. The Amarillo. I think I'm saying that correctly. Yeah, it looks like Amarillo. And then the Vector. So yeah, just a pretty big difference there. You know, again, so this one is by far my favorite. I would, you know, again, it's like 40 bucks or something. I would highly recommend you guys get this just to try it out for 40 bucks. If you don't like it, give it to a friend. It'll be the best $40 knife they have ever had without question. So yeah, really like this button lock. I've had $800 customs and the button lock was not executed nearly as well as this one. So let's see. The Orion here. It's got a really good look. Love the belly on the blade. And look at the jimping they did. Pretty unique. Works really well. Looks really good. The only thing on this knife is there's a slight hot spot right here. Kind of on that hump of the finger groove. I think smaller hands you're probably going to be a little bit more comfortable. But looks really good. I like the texturing on the handles quite a bit. Although the lock bar is slightly difficult to disengage on this one. I've actually slipped on it a few times, but again on washers the action is certainly agreeable. And this isn't broken in yet. I think with more breaking in and with, you know, whatever your lubricant of choice is, this thing's going to be just really impressive. So jimping here on the back, pocket clip is 4-way positionable. So yeah, like this one. So the Santa Fe is the one that I've seen the most YouTube videos on. This seems to be the most popular. Lock bar is easier to access and disengage here on the Santa Fe than on the Orion. Thumb stud, less, kind of a more neutral grip as well. Like with this one, obviously it's kind of forcing your hand into very specific positions. This one's a bit more neutral, so you hold it wherever you like. But it's certainly a nice piece and very smooth. It's actually, again, it feels like a knife on washers that's been broken in for quite some time. So pretty simple construction, really good pocket clip. Then I showed you guys the Amarillo already. So just a little tiny flipper. Action is incredible to open and close. This one's probably the smoothest of the bunch, feels the most broken in. Yeah, really impressive. Just a nice little piece. You know, again, if you're traveling or something and you want to pick something up that's going to work well and you're going to like, but if you lose it, it's not the end of the world, then, you know, again, I think a lot of these can be good. So, yeah, I mean, I would recommend these, especially for the price point, especially the Vector here. You know, over some of the other budget options. Now, there are a lot of good budget options out there these days. This is just some of them. Obviously, there's, you know, Ontario and the Rat series. Let's see, there's new companies coming out of China like every single week that do budget knives. At least with Kizer, they have a reputation and they've been around for a while, which I favor more than some of the new companies that are brand new. There's also going to be Kershaw and a lot of their budget models as well, similar price points. They are going to be using 8CR13 MOV and I think nylon washers instead of phosphor bronze like these ones have. So, you know, again, in the budget world, these ones do seem to be coming ahead of a lot of the other competitions. So, again, these are just 4. There's a lot more. I'll put links in the description box below. Most of these I'm probably going to end up giving to coworkers and friends who don't carry a pocket knife presently. And I think that they would certainly benefit from having, you know, a knife that they use on occasion, and if they lose it or they break it, whatever, not a big deal. So, anyways, that is some of the Kizer Tangram models. Comments or questions, let me know. I'll try to do my best to answer them. Again, there's some other channels that have already done videos on the Santa Fe or cut tests of the steel. Definitely go check those out. So, thanks so much for watching, guys. You can always follow me on Instagram for more daily content. And if you like me to show you guys budget models and hear my thoughts on them, let me know. If it's something where the majority of my followers are more interested in budget than some of the higher end stuff, then I can certainly make an effort to get more of them under the camera and in front of you guys. So, again, thanks for watching. Take care.